Hey guys, JakeDoesSports here, and today we are doing our Week 3 Top 25 poll. The AP poll has come out. I have not seen it yet, but yeah, I've done my Week 3 Top 25 poll, and I'm trying to get it out sooner for you guys so it doesn't come out Friday right before the Week 3 games start. So, yeah, I mean, that's really all I have to say. I'm going to be doing the post-game to the Saturday games, the big games, and I'll go over a few shocking games, too. I got to get that out. The time I'm recording this is Monday, so I hope to get that out by Tuesday so it doesn't wear off, so people forget games. Or not forget games, but just, it's not. So we're kind of moving. We're getting towards Week 3 now. Week 2 starting. I mean, it's already ended, but it's just kind of wearing off. And I mean, the Week 3 poll is really the start of Week 3, so I'd like to get it out within the next few days. But with that saying, I mean, let's get right into it. So, first team I have, obviously, Clemson. I'm just going to say the top 3, Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, and they have separated themselves from the pack. They are elite teams with absolutely amazing strengths. Clemson, they didn't dominate Texas A&M, but they handled the job. Texas A&M scored a late touchdown to make that game just a little closer. But they really, I mean, you see, there's a big difference from 24-3 to 24-10. So that game looked a lot closer than it was. Trevor Lawrence played great, and the whole team played great. And I mean, you get a win over, in my eyes, what was a top 10 team last week, and you're staying number 1 without a doubt. Number 2, Alabama. I mean, nothing really to say. They dominated New Mexico State. It wasn't even close. That New Mexico State knew they were done. The second the clock started ticking, they knew they were done. Georgia absolutely dominated Murray State, put up 63 points. Their passing game was pretty good, and the running game was pretty good, and that's what I'm nervous as a Notre Dame fan. If you can't defend the Louisville run, you can't defend the Georgia run. So that's why I personally think we will lose that game. Georgia's a very good team, and really all these teams are just have separated themselves from the pack. You got Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, and then there's a huge wall. And then at number 4, I have Ohio State. Now that I'm thinking about this, really Ohio State and LSU could be switched. Either way, I mean, I want to do ties. I'd love to put both these teams at 4, but I really can't. But yeah, I do have Ohio State 4, LSU 5. Ohio State, I mean, really the reason that Ohio State pushed me up is because I thought Cincinnati was going to keep that game close. They got absolutely dominated, 42 to donut. It wasn't even close. I was watching. I had this game and the Michigan Army game on, and I'll get to the Michigan Army game later. But I mean, yeah, I wasn't all that interested in the Ohio State-Cincinnati game after that first quarter. I mean, Ohio State just started pulling away, and they just steamrolled Cincinnati, who I think is actually a pretty decent team. But Cincinnati, I'm letting you know now, and I think it's pretty obvious that Cincinnati's not in my top 25 poll, so I'm just going to talk about them now. They had one job, and their one job was to beat Ohio State. They couldn't do it. They didn't come close, and they're without a doubt eliminated from the playoff. I think everyone knows that. But I'm telling you, if they beat Ohio State, they would have had a legitimate shot if they went undefeated the rest of the season to make the playoffs. But going undefeated is very hard no matter what level you're at, and they didn't get the job done at Ohio State, so they're done. 5, LSU. LSU versus Texas. LSU's offense looked great that game. They looked absolutely great. I couldn't believe how well the LSU offense was playing. And I mean, you just have, I think we all know it. Texas is in the Big 12, and the Big 12 is not known for defense. And I was watching the game, and I'd just be, as soon as Texas scored a touchdown, and the LSU defense couldn't hold the Texas offense, and neither could the Texas defense hold the LSU offense. I was watching the game at the end, and Texas would score a touchdown, and I'm like, well, I knew at the end of the game they didn't have a chance because the LSU offense just kept scoring. There was no way to stop them for Texas. So I'll show you guys where Texas is, but I still think Texas is a quality team. They just gotta work on defense, and especially you're not gonna win playoff games, especially against LSU with explosive offenses like that. And that's what they got to work on. It's either you got your offense even better, which I don't. They got to figure out the running back situation because they're all pass right now. If they can figure out the running back situation and fix up the defense a little, they'll be set. But yes, I do have LSU at number 5. I got to move them up 1. They beat a quality team. And the next team dominated, but they didn't have a quality win. I know Oklahoma did the best they did, but I'm just ranking these based on who I think is personally better. And I think if you put LSU and Oklahoma in a matchup, I'd have to pick LSU to win that game. So that's why I have Oklahoma at 6. They dropped 2 spots. They were at number 4. I had them a little high. And looking back, I got to see more of Ohio State. I got to see more of what LSU was like. And I kind of reset Oklahoma. Oklahoma did not have a bad game at all. It wasn't Oklahoma's fault they dropped 2. Just, I'm repositioning teams. Week 2 was, the week 2 poll was just kind of, they only played 1 game. I couldn't really tell. It's hard to rank where, Ohio State goes after they beat FAU when they cream FAU. Really all these teams except the only ranked matchup last week was Auburn-Oregon, and that's really all we got. The only clues we got from teams. Now, some teams struggled. Notre Dame, I wouldn't say they struggled. Definitely in the first half they did, but they pulled things together. It wasn't an impressive win. It was an average win. But, that could tell you something about Notre Dame. But, when you blow a team out, you're expected to do that. Everyone knows that, and that's what happens. So it's really hard to pick, where these teams are going to go. But I just repositioned them. So, Oklahoma, it's nothing on you guys. I just moved you guys down 2 spots. You guys are going to say I'm biased here, but I have Notre Dame at 7. I have them moving up 1. They're only 1-0. They didn't play week 2 because they have a stupid bye week 2, which stinks for me as a fan because I'm trying to get back into college football. And it stinks for Notre Dame because they're playing New Mexico. They're playing a nobody next week. So, Notre Dame next week, they just got to go out there, absolutely blow New Mexico out of the water. You have to have a confident win before going out to Georgia. You just need a professional, easy win. I'm talking like 50 something to 14 or something like that. That's the kind of win Notre Dame needs. And I think they'll probably be a little more respected, but Notre Dame's gonna drop when they lose to Georgia, and they're losing to Georgia. I'm telling you right now, they're not beating Georgia. I will be happy as heck, and I'm gonna make a post-game video no matter what. I'm gonna be telling how bad, I'm gonna be saying how bad Notre Dame is, or I'm gonna be saying how good they are. Either way, really, realistically, next week, none of these teams are going to lose in the top. Probably, top. I'm not going past. Outside of Notre Dame, you see Notre Dame and going in 6-1. None of those teams are losing next week. I gotta recheck schedules, but I'm pretty sure. I really gotta check schedules, but I do think all of those teams are gonna win next week. And I think really if Georgia loses to Notre Dame, you're gonna see Georgia probably fall to, I'd say, 6, maybe 5. But I think they probably have, I don't know where LSU is, but let's say this is the AP, and the top 7 is for me is what the AP is. I'd have Georgia would probably go down to 6, and Notre Dame would probably move up to 5. Because I don't see Georgia dropping to 7, and I don't see Notre Dame only moving up 1 by that. So after that, if Georgia lost, I'm not saying they will. I don't think they will. You'd have 1 Clemson, 2 Alabama, 3 Ohio State, 4 LSU, 5 Notre Dame, 6 Georgia. Just because I think that head-to-head is going to matter. And Notre Dame, they're not even, if the playoff ended after that, they wouldn't be in. I think personally LSU really could be in that 3 spot after Ohio State. It's not Ohio State's fault, and it's not their fault they've played nobody. It's only week 2, but I'm just saying, if it came down to that, you got to put Notre Dame in because they have that win over Georgia. But listen, I don't think Notre Dame is going to beat Georgia for a whole bunch of reasons, and what's most likely going to happen is Notre Dame's going to fall out of the top 10 and fall to probably number 12 past Michigan. And then when Michigan rolls around, we're going to beat Michigan, probably move up to, back where we are now. And then I'm sure we could probably lose another game somewhere along the road, probably putting us at 9 or 10. Or, sorry guys, I'm tired. Or maybe we have, maybe somehow we win the rest of our games, only lose to Georgia 4 or 5. This isn't the season for Notre Dame for a whole bunch of reasons. Next season, I was checking their schedule for next season, and there's really no one on that schedule. I gotta recheck. They might be playing Clemson. But besides that, they're playing nobody. I'm not even lying. I think they have Wisconsin and Clemson, and that might be it. But yeah, that's. I'm excited for next season, definitely for Notre Dame. We might be playing Ohio State. I'll have to look. It might be the season after that, somewhere along the road. But this is going to be a tough year for Notre Dame. I don't really think schedule-wise. You're on the road at both Georgia and Michigan. But I think really just it's just scenarios are going to play out. And you got Georgia, you got Alabama, you got Clemson. But then you think a 1-loss Notre Dame that only has 1 loss to Georgia, should they get in? Or are you going to put a Power 5 champion, 2 losses, maybe 1. I don't know. It's not the time for playoff scenarios. Trust me, I love playoff scenarios. And when we're getting into college football playoff time, or near that time, you already know that I'm going to be coming up with a whole bunch of scenarios. So basically, Notre Dame 7. I really just went off track there, but Notre Dame number 7. Number 8. It's going to be a surprise to a lot of people. I saw the coaches poll before this, and I was utterly disappointed in where they placed this team. It's Wisconsin. And a lot of people are saying, what? Wisconsin, number 8? Are you kidding me? Yeah, I have them moving up 8 spots. They shut out to not good teams. I don't really care if they're not good. They just their offense looked amazing and their defense looked amazing. And, I mean, they just looked professional doing it. They looked like a top 10 team. They looked like a top tier team. And Wisconsin just looked absolutely amazing. Now, this could all change when Big Ten time rolls around. But for these first two games, they shut them out. Wisconsin has gave up 0 points this entire season. And they have just looked unbelievable on the field. And Jonathan Taylor looks amazing. And they just look like a great football team. And that's why I have them at number 8. And they have them at like 14, the coaches poll does. And no. What are you doing? No. Why do you have Wisconsin at 14? Fix that poll. I think really just they got to have a marquee win or something. Or, once they get 5-0, 6-0, really hot, or get a marquee win, like I said, I think then they'll crack that top 10. I almost said pot. No. When they crack that top 10, I think they'll have to get a marquee win to do it. Next game. Number 9, Michigan. Oh, man, we're 16 minutes in, and I'm not even halfway through. Michigan. This is going to be another long talk. Army, Michigan. Listen, I think Michigan. I don't think that Michigan. I think Michigan played bad. I'm just going to say that right now. They did not play well. They got the win. And Army's a good team. I don't think it's really the fact that they barely beat a group of 5 team. I watched that game, and Michigan did not look like a top 10 team. They did not look good. Shea Patterson, I think he's also overrated. He did not play well. And, a mistake by Army at the end of the game when they could have won it, that cost Army the game. And Army really could have won that game. I really do think they could have. I mean, if at the very least, if they didn't fumble there, that would have been a 24-24 ball game. At the end of the game, I was very mad that Michigan won because, I hate Michigan. I'm a Notre Dame fan. But, I mean, I guess it's just going to look like a better win for us when we win. And I'm saying that now, but now that I say it, of course, Notre Dame's going to lose to Michigan. They're going to choke. But I really do think Notre Dame's going to beat Michigan. I really do. Just like I think Notre Dame's going to lose to Georgia, beat Michigan, and probably a 50-50 chance they lose another game on their schedule. I think they're either going 10-2 or 11-1. And I don't know which one it is. I couldn't tell you now. But the point is, Michigan looked sloppy. Army looked very good in that game. Army and Army, they look like a very good team. They're a very good team. And it's not that Michigan barely beat Army. Michigan just had a bad game. And it's not. And I know I had them lower last week, but I didn't move them down or up. I kept them there. They're at number 9. I didn't move them down or up. I didn't move them down because they beat a group of 5 team. I think Army's a great team. They're independent. And a few more rich years of Army football, and people could be talking, and if they schedule Power 5 teams like this and have more close games, they could be considered, like a BYU except better, start maybe on the edge of a Power 5 team, not quite there. It's debatable. I think Army is a group of 5 team, but I think if they really have a few more good years and they maybe beat a Power 5 team along that road, they could really be considered to be a Power 5 team. Kind of like Notre Dame, except not as good. Notre Dame's a Power 5 team. They're not in a conference. I think, You could say the same thing for BYU, maybe. That's debatable. And I think the rest of the independents are not Power 5. But Army could be considered someday if they keep playing at the level they're playing. So I have Michigan at 9. Next, I have Utah. They beat Northern Iowa and moved them up 2 spots just because who lost? Oh, yeah, Texas. So here I have Texas at 11. They lost LSU. Their offense was great. Their defense was not so good. And I like Texas. I think Texas is a very good team. And I'm sure if you're the next team up in the top 10, if one for the next team who loses. But you look at, I'd say Utah is probably the most likely team to lose next. So they'll probably only move up 1 spot. But Texas, I think, I think you're a good team. 12, Florida. Florida beat, I think it was UT Martin, 45-0. Blew them out of the water. Looked better, but it's UT Martin. I moved you down 1 spot. You just look at Texas and Florida, and again, this is my rule. If you put them head to head, who do you think's gonna win? And I'd absolutely have to say Texas here. Texas I think Texas is just a more well-rounded team. They're good. They're better than Florida, and it's like Oklahoma. No disrespect to Florida. No, it's not that they played bad. It's just that it's how the poll came out. 13, Auburn stayed the same. Had an, I wouldn't say unimpressive, kind of like Notre Dame's win. It was meh. It was a fine win. You beat Tulane by 18. Low-scoring game, pretty low scoring. It was a fine game. Penn State 2-0. They're 2-0. Stayed the same. But them and Buffalo, Buffalo was leading at halftime, and then Penn State just put the pedal to the metal and just absolutely slammed. They killed Buffalo in that second half, and it ended up being a blowout. It really did. Penn State, an impressive win, I'd say. I think Buffalo's a pretty good team. And I have Texas A&M at 15. You see Washington's not there because they lost to Cal. I'll get into that later. I have them dropping 5 spots. I didn't really want to put them. I didn't want to disreward or move down Auburn or Penn State really. So I just put you guys at 15 because Washington lost, so they moved down. So I just replaced you there. You dropped 5 spots. You lost to Clemson by 14. It was really an underwhelming game. I'm gonna be honest. It was pretty. It was a pretty good game, but did not live up to the hype for you guys at all in that game against Clemson. But that's what happens a lot of times when you're facing the number 1 team in the country. I really wish you guys won that game, but that's okay. And I'm also gonna talk in a little bit, probably after the poll, about the Syracuse-Clemson game coming up. But I have Oregon 16. Oregon number 16. They move up 1. They won. Nothing really to say. They absolutely smashed Nevada. It was 77-6. And Nevada beat Purdue. So, that's pretty good for you guys. I wouldn't say an impressive win. Oh, yeah. You beat a group of 5 teams 77-6 that beat a Power 5 team. I moved you guys up 1. Same with UCF. Won by a lot. Michigan State, they won. Iowa won. And from Oregon to Iowa, all those teams move up 1. And here we go. Now we're getting into a little more interesting ranks and teams. 20, I have Maryland, and they were not ranked last week. I wasn't really buying into the hype. I didn't think they were going to be that good this season, but oh boy. Did their offense show up or what? What was it? 63-20 against Syracuse. They were up like 35-13 at half. I mean, that's just unbelievable. That's unbelievable. I know Syracuse's defense isn't the greatest, but it's not as bad. It's not like Big 12 quality. I mean, it's a pretty average defense, and I mean, Maryland just absolutely pounded them. Maryland was at home. I predicted I took Maryland and the spread by one. It was by one. They won by a lot more than one. What was it? 43. They won by 43. Absolutely blew out Syracuse. Their defense looked okay, but their offense, that's the main storyline. Their offense, and I mean, them in Wisconsin. I mean, they're really the surprises of week 3. Or of week 2. Sorry, week 1 we saw Wisconsin. We thought they were a good team. I didn't move them up all the way to 8, but this week I think Maryland and Wisconsin really proved something, that they're good teams and they're definite contenders in the Big Ten. And I mean, you look before the season, Michigan and Ohio State. You expected them to not really have any competition. You thought it'd be down to them. And I mean, the Big Ten's just really the big storyline this year, I think. You got those 5 or 6 contenders in the West, and Wisconsin looks like the front runner right now. And I'm telling you right now, I think they really could upset Michigan or Ohio State at this moment. We need to see more of them, but if they keep playing at the level they're at, they can definitely upset one of these 2 teams in the Big Ten championship. Nebraska, disappointing. And, I mean, Maryland just looked absolutely phenomenal. And Maryland's definitely in the East. So, I mean, look out for Maryland as a dark horse in the East to win the East. That'd be something that'd be crazy. But yeah, that'd be awesome to see. Maryland absolutely crushed Syracuse, played great. Congrats to Maryland. Syracuse 1-1, not good, very sad. I think they're only going to get better from here on out. And they beat Howard 79-0 the game before. So, I mean, they have looked lights out. Here we go. 21, Washington. How do you lose to Cal? Come on. I expected you to lose maybe 1 or 2 games in the Pac-12, Washington. And I didn't think you were that good. A lot of people had you higher. I had you lower. And I was right. You are not good. You're not a very good team. You lost to Cal. C-A-L. Not Southern Cal. Cal. How? And how is Cal 2-0 now? Cal's 2-0 now. Just, come on, guys. Cal. You lost to Cal. That's sad. I don't really need to explain any more there. Your season's over. That's it. You're done. Any playoff hopes or really expectations you had are probably out the window. There's a chance you get to a New Year's Six bowl, but you're done from the playoffs. And you really look now, and Oregon's done. They're done. They lost to Auburn. And I think you have to go undefeated in the Pac-12. If you don't know already, I think you have to go undefeated in the Pac-12 in order to make a playoff game. Oregon, you're done. Washington, you're done. Those are really the 2 contenders. And now Utah, the dark horse, is really the only one left. And I guess you could count USC in there, but I'll get to them later. I don't think they're going to really have a shot. We'll see, though. I mean, Utah or Southern Cal, I mean, one of those teams is coming out of the South alive, and it's not both of them. They can't face off in the championship game, so it's really either Utah or USC. And I'd love to see them play in the championship game if they get there, but it's probably going to be like Oregon versus Utah or something. And knowing the Pac-12, they love to kill each other, so knowing the Pac-12, Oregon's probably going to beat Utah in the championship game. 22. Oh, yeah, also Wazoo, or Washington State. I don't really see them as contenders. They usually choke in the Apple Cup every year against Washington. I think they're going to do it again this year. I have them at 22. Didn't move up or down. Had a nice win. That's really all I can say. USC 23. They are 2-0, and I didn't have them in the rankings last week. They're non-ranked. They were non-ranked last week for me. Have them at 23. I mean, a very impressive win over Stanford, and I don't think Notre Dame's going to lose to Stanford. It's at Stanford, you never know, but USC looked pretty dominant in that game. I think it was 45-20. Both backup quarterbacks, so it's not like just Stanford had their backup quarterback. USC did too, and he looked pretty good. So, I mean, I thought your season was over when JT Daniels was injured, but it looks like you're not, and you guys have a shot in the Pac-12. So we'll see from here on out. But they looked impressive. I think USC definitely looked impressive, and it looks like hopefully they are bouncing back from their 5-7 year where they missed a bowl game, believe it or not. 24, UVA moved up one spot. Nothing really to talk about. I think they're a good team. Moved up one. And the last team, it's going to be a little surprising. It's Army. I got Army in there. I told you I think Army's a great team. They narrowly lost to Michigan, I know I've been saying Michigan is just, they're not who I think they are. All that, how they're overrated, but at the end of the day, they are a good team. And Army played very well. They were very professional. They were on the dot, and just one mistake cost them the game. And if they won this game, they'd be all the way up at 20 or somewhere around there for me, because they looked very impressive. And I even have you in the top 25 with a loss at Michigan. So all you non-ranked, I think you're a great team. Even with a 1-1 record, I have you at 25. I did not feel I looked at the other teams, really the other options. I really couldn't put Cal in there. They had an upset over Washington, and they beat UC Davis by 14. Yeah, that's not a top. If you beat UC Davis by only 14, I think you're not a top 25 team. That's really my poll. I just wanted to talk quickly about that Clemson-Syracuse game, and then we're done. 33 minutes. That's unbelievable. I got to shorten these things up. I think really at the beginning of the season, Clemson-Syracuse, that was the big game. And Syracuse has been giving Clemson trouble the last few seasons. It's not happening this year. For a few reasons. One, Trevor Lawrence. We didn't really know what he was like last year. This year, whole season of experience. Won the national championship. And he looks great. So that's one reason. Two, Syracuse got blown out by Maryland. That's really all I have to say. I mean, you get blown out by Maryland, and it was just a huge blow for that game, because that was a hyped-up game. I mean, I think if Syracuse won that game, and they moved up, they won that game convincingly, moved up in the rankings. Maybe if Clemson lost, it would have been even more hyped up. But even if they won, I think it really could have been game day. And, that's gone now. I think that's gone. Unless there's not a big game on the week they're playing, which I have to check all the schedules and stuff. But I really don't think that's going to be game day. And I was so excited. I really thought it was. Thought it was going to be an awesome week, awesome game. But that's really down the toilet now after that Syracuse loss. Crushing defeat at the hands of Maryland. And Maryland charging its way into the top 25, moving all the way up to 20 without being ranked the first week. That's all for me on Jake Does Sports. Thank you guys so much for watching. 35 minutes of me talking. See you later. Bye.